What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and we need to talk. In a very shocking bit of news today, OnePlus has announced that they are not releasing a OnePlus Open 2. At least not this year. I don't even know where to start with this one. Early this morning, they posted a article on their forums and basically said that OnePlus is not releasing a foldable this year in 2025. They called it a pause. They said it's not a step back, it's a recalibration. They're basically just refocusing on the market, things like that. And I honestly don't know what to make of it. Now, because here's the thing. The OnePlus Open launched in 2023, and it was widely praised as the best foldable on the market. People loved it. I have one. I don't have it with me because it's actually on loan to a friend whose phone was broken, but I needed to record this video because his announcement was crazy. So, anyway, I have one. It's awesome. I really, really like it. I've used it as my daily for quite a while, and it was very, very highly regarded, right? Reviewers everywhere praised it as better than the Samsung, better than the Pixel, and it was just extremely well-regarded phone. The hardware was incredible. The crease was barely noticeable. It had plenty of power. The cameras were actually really good. Everyone was really surprised how good the cameras were on the Open, and they even did really fun software features. They included some unique things to actually make the software usable, to really take advantage of that larger screen real estate, unlike some other companies that just kind of haphazardly threw stuff in there, right? So the OnePlus Open was extremely well regarded. We didn't see a new Open last year, but everybody was like, hey, you know what? It's a big device. Like, they're taking their time. They're going to do it right, okay? Now, if you remember, OnePlus and Oppo are essentially the same company now, and so the OnePlus Open was essentially a rebranded Oppo Find N3. But that wasn't really a problem because the Find N3 was a fantastic device, right? And so everybody was very happy that it was, and it didn't have color. The Open didn't have Color OS on it. It ran Oxygen OS, which is a little bit cleaner, a little bit smoother. We can talk more about that in another video. But anyway, so the only reason I bring that up is because there's been a lot of hype lately, and Oppo has been heavily teasing the new Find N5, right? Their successor to the Find N3. There's no Find N4 because in Asian cultures, particularly Chinese culture, 4 is an unlucky number, so they're skipping the 4 to go to 5. OnePlus did the same thing from the OnePlus 3 to the OnePlus 5. It happened. Anyway, so there's been a lot of hype around the Find N5, and it's incredibly thin, it's incredibly powerful, like there's a whole bunch of hype coming around it. And so everyone naturally got really, really excited that the Open 2 was going to be a rebranded Find N5, right? That the Find N5 was going to be rebranded as the OnePlus Open 2 for the North American and somewhat European markets, right? And so there's a lot of excitement about that. And then as this hype has been building, all of a sudden OnePlus drops this bombshell today that there is no OnePlus foldable coming for 2025, which essentially means there's no Find N5 coming. Now, they didn't really give a specific reason, right? They like I said, they mentioned it's a recalibration, it's a refocusing, they're still committed to innovation, all that crap. I don't buy it. To me, what this screams as is the OnePlus Open did not sell in enough numbers, did not make enough money for OnePlus and parent company Oppo and BBK Electronics to commit to the investment of a second one, right? Which isn't a whole lot of an investment because all you gotta do is change the logo, change the color, put some different software on it. You don't have to like reinvent a whole phone. So that's my first frustration is like, it's very clearly telling the tech community and the OnePlus community like, hey, we don't care about you. It's not giving you what you want. It's we didn't make enough money to commit to this investment, right? And that's the only thing I can take it as. Now, I've spoken to people within OnePlus who've said that it was a very agonizing decision. Like there was a lot of internal talk about it. I've heard people say that it wasn't just a off the cuff decision like, oh, let's just not do it, right? Apparently there was a lot of discussion and it kind of came down to the wire of whether or not they were actually going to do it. So there was some internal struggle, and we may never truly know the real reason why they canceled it, but the only thing I can think is that it didn't make enough money for them to commit. Because here's the thing, OnePlus has shown this before, right? This is not a new strategy for OnePlus. OnePlus, for as much as I love them and love their devices and have enjoyed, like, it's been a fun experience being with OnePlus and following that journey, just as a user and as a fan, they have a problem with commitment. They really do. Let's be honest. OnePlus has a problem with commitment. In the early days of OnePlus, I heard many executives and many people at the company talking about how they wanted to be the next Samsung and wanted to be the next Apple, and they were committed, right? But their strategy, especially in the US market and in North America, their actions have not backed that up, right? When I think it was the OnePlus 8 came out, they were, or maybe no, it was the 7, I think. One of the phones, it might have been the 7T. One of the biggest announcements was they're launching on T-Mobile, right? They're finally getting into the carriers in the US. Because for those of you that don't live in the US, everyone still buys their phones through carriers here. It's by far the biggest way people get their phones, right? When they need a new phone, they go to the AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile store, and they usually buy an Apple or a Samsung, or they look at the phones in the store, right? So OnePlus was saying, hey, we are committed to making waves in the US market by getting into carrier stores. Now, the reason they hadn't done that in the past is because the carriers charge a lot of money for them to be in the stores, and there's a lot of extra hoops and a lot of extra money and investment the manufacturers need to make to get into the carrier stores. But OnePlus was saying, we are making this commitment. We're doing this, right? 2 years later, that was all done. There was only one phone, maybe two, that actually officially supported Verizon. And then as of probably 3 or 4 years ago, there's no more official T-Mobile support. Right? Like, you can't go into a T-Mobile store, an AT&T store, a Verizon store, and find a OnePlus phone. It never worked on AT&T, and Verizon was iffy. So anyway, that was one of the biggest things they've said. Like, we're not committed to actually making waves in North America, or in the US market specifically. And they've done other things too, right? Like, I was part of one of the original brand ambassador programs, and they had this big push where they were going to try to really make more waves in the U.S. But then that program just kind of died by the wayside, and they just didn't really care. And they do no marketing here in the U.S. Like, they did a little bit, they've done none, right? So they're really not committed to the U.S. market there. And so, but it's frustrating because you're saying we're not committed to the US market. We're not committed to our users, right? Because we're not willing to make the investment to bring this phone to the people, right? But anybody who's been in business knows that you have to invest money often before you see practical returns on that, right? So if we're going to this concept of probably the real reason they chose to not bring the Open 2 was because the original Open didn't sell in enough meaningful numbers, you gotta, like, that's not how markets work. Like, that's not how products work, right? The iPhone did not become the iPhone until arguably the iPhone 6, right? People started to know it, and it was becoming popular around the 4 and the 5, but it didn't become a smash household, universally purchased and accepted product until about the iPhone 6. And the first Galaxy Fold from Samsung was arguably kind of a dumpster fire. Like, they probably lost a whole lot of money on the first Fold. But here we are on the Fold 6, and now they sell quite a bit of them. They are obviously the dominant foldable player, especially in North America. So, and keep in mind, most of this video is talking about the North American audience. So, it's just saying, like, you're giving it one shot, and then you're giving up because you didn't make your goals the first time. Right? Your first time out of the gate, you didn't nail it. You weren't as successful at you were critically successful. You were very highly praised by the critics and by the media, but because you didn't make enough money, you're not doing another one. So I don't know. It's frustrating. OnePlus has a commitment problem. And they're a very frustrating company to be a fan of because you never know what they're going to do, right? You never know if you're going to get, like, in the OnePlus 10T, they canceled the alert slider. Like, they took it out of the phone. One of their most iconic things, it would be like Apple removing the Apple logo off the phone. It's like, why would you do that? And so anyway, I'm ranting because, like I honestly said, I don't really know what to say about this other than that it feels kind of like a slap in the face, right? It feels which is even more frustrating coming from OnePlus, because they also talk a whole lot about community and commitment to their users, and how committed they are to their customers and their community. And then they do stuff like this. And it's like, can you make up your mind? You're either committed or you're not, right? You're either in or you're out, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe I'm, overanalyzing. And I'm sure it was a very difficult decision. I'm sure there was a lot of turmoil about it. But again, you're not reinventing anything here. You have the Find N5, which is a fantastic phone. Do the same thing you did. It can't cost all that much to take all the same parts, put some different colors on it and a different logo, and load some new software on it, right? Like, I get it that it's not a zero investment, but you're clearly, or at least you most likely would be able to make enough money off of that, especially off the success of the first one. Like, anyway, you got to be committed. You got to be committed. If you're gonna do this, OnePlus, you got to do it, and you got to mean it. Okay. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think about the fact that there is no OnePlus Open 2 coming this year.